Hey, good morning. It's Patricia Murphy. It's Monday again. This is Seattle Now. We've been living with COVID for coming up on 2 years now. So it was pretty hard to hear the opinion that everything up until now has been a trial run, now that Omicron is running wild. We'll get another pandemic reality check from UW's Judith Malmgren. But first, let's get you caught up. Speaking of reality checks, schools canceled at Seattle's Kimball Elementary in Beacon Hill today. Not remote, canceled. The district says it's due to staff and student attendance projections and doesn't mention COVID outbreaks or case counts as a reason, but a letter from Kimball teachers to parents over the weekend says the school has been short-staffed due to COVID and hasn't gotten enough help from the district. So they were planning to call out sick today rather than show up and work in what they say are unsafe conditions. SPS says class will be back in session tomorrow. Meanwhile, there's some progress being made getting travel back up and running across the mountains. Snoqualmie and Blewett passes are back open as of late yesterday. White Pass should be back open later today. Not so great at Stevens Pass, though, where there are still multiple 30-foot tall snow slides blocking the roadway. WashDOT says it's looking like at least Wednesday before they'll get Stevens cleared. And season's over for the Seahawks. They closed out the year with a win against Arizona yesterday to finish at 7-10. It's been a decade since the Hawks had a losing record or missed the playoffs. Now comes the speculation over whether Russell Wilson and coach Pete Carroll will both be back next year. The third year of the pandemic is starting off with a bold variant. Definitely not where we wanted it to be. The Omicron variant is surging across the nation and here in Seattle, and it's forcing us to reevaluate what seemed like a pretty good defense against COVID we'd arrived at. Good thing UW epidemiologist Judith Malmgren is here to help us make sense of things. Judith, Happy New Year. Thanks for taking the time to check in.
Oh, you're very welcome. I'm delighted to be with you.
So nationally, we hit a new peak for cases, and the graph, me and my husband were talking about, so dramatic. The line just shoots straight up. Hospitalizations are heading up, deaths too, although those numbers lag by a couple of weeks. What do you see happening in these numbers?
That Omicron is just so contagious. It's insane. And we're in the thick of it. This is the pandemic. We are now in the pandemic. Before was practice. This is what we were afraid of in 2020.
It's been 2 years, Judith.
Yeah, 2 years. I know my brain's going, Jiminy Christmas, this is so stupid. But this is what we were afraid of. And we are not at the peak.
Oh, boy.
I don't really like talking about it because there's no good news here. I don't really have any good news. My son got very sick and he's double vaxxed and boosted and wears a mask, but he did go to a large family gathering on New Year's Day evening after he'd seen me, and they all got sick.
And it seems like testing is absolutely critical at this point, and it is harder and harder right now to get a hold. I don't have a test right now in my house, Judith. I could drive somewhere and go get one, but I would have to leave my house to do that.
Yeah. I mean, you can go online and set them up, but you're not going to get one this week and you're not going to get your results back right away. So quarantining is critical. I think we're at the point where we have to go back to the mitigation things that we know work. Everybody needs new masks. I wish the president, I don't know if we're ever going to get those test kits, the rapid test kits, but it'd be nice if everybody got sent masks. Even the people in the Midwest who won't wear them.
I just ordered a new bunch of masks, and they're not going to be here till February. I got a little update this morning, so I'll have to look for some different ones. I think I'll. Well,
yeah, you go on Amazon and you just see what they can deliver because there's, we've got warehouses of them here. But what we have had happen, just to kind of give an overview, is a lot of people going into Christmas probably were positive, but were asymptomatic. And so everybody got together at Christmas time and it was lovely. And we got together indoors. Of course, in my house, the windows are wide open and there's a fire going in the fireplace and everybody can wear a coat. But this is what makes me feel comfortable. But so we had this basically a massive super spreader event at Christmas because they've got to see their families. I mean, that has to happen. So then we go to New Year's, and that's when people probably who caught it were contagious. And then it's just a massive super spreader on top of it. So a lot of people are trying to do estimates for when we're going to hit the peak. The problem is the United States of crazy doesn't work very well for predictions because there's too many variables and everybody's flying, and flying is the worst thing to do. So don't get on an airplane thinking there's nobody positive. Get on an airplane knowing you are going to be in an enclosed space with people who have COVID. It is 100% that there will be people on the plane that have COVID. They either know they have COVID and are desperate to get home, or they don't know they have COVID yet. And that's why it's spread like wildfire.
Judith, I have to admit, I know of someone who tested positive on a trip back east and took their family back on a plane.
Yep.
Positive with COVID. It was infuriating to me. And it makes me wonder, have we seen the worst from the holidays yet?
No, we have not. Absolutely not. So I think we may peak somewhere between the 14th and the 28th. That might be a peak, but we're going to see 1 million cases a day nationwide. Oh. It's absolutely going to happen. I think I was really in a funk about the whole thing. It's hard being an epidemiologist right now. It's really, really hard because you can't turn it off. I didn't watch the news for a week or so and just took a complete break because it's so upsetting. But we can't think that this is not going to happen or that we've reached the peak, or as Biden says, it's mild. Yeah, it might be mild, but when half of the people at your vet's office are sick, how long till the other half are sick? The first half have to quarantine so they don't infect everybody else. So then the vet's can close. So if your dog has an emergency and they have to go to the emergency vet, they're all overwhelmed because of short staffing. And the big problem, the big major problem that I'm most upset about is that the hospitals are full to overflowing. So if you get sick and it's not like your leg got cut off, but it's still an emergency, you had to go to the emergency room, you're going to sit in the hallway.
I want to talk about this because I have had appointments canceled, just routine appointments canceled because of short staffing. Every aisle in the grocery store has empty holes in it right now. Schools are warning parents to keep those laptops charged up in case they have to go remote. Like you said, hospitals are stretched. The governor is talking about deploying the National Guard. Yeah,
I think they will. I think that's going to happen. I don't see any way around that. I could have told you that in November. The shortages at the grocery store are from the passes being closed.
Think so?
Yeah, that's what that is. Except I don't know why the bread is always running out.
Cat food, gone, wiped out, Judith.
Yeah. Well, for bread, you have to get there by 2:00 to get bread, except for brands that have a longer shelf life. So we are definitely in a real pandemic now. Like I said, it was practiced before. So the things that worked before, we need to do those again, because quite frankly, if you look at the numbers at Evergreen Hospital in Kirkland, they have almost as many vaccinated as unvaccinated in the hospital and in the ICU. So especially when you get older. So the problem with people, we have, intergenerational mixing. This has been the same thing I've talked about all along. When you have 20 to 39-year-olds who get sick and they live with their parents, and one of the parents is immunocompromised and has serious health issues, you've got a whole lot of trouble. And if it was me, I would be making restrictions right now.
Well, and Judith, here we are nearly 2 years into it, and you and I started talking right at the beginning of the pandemic. And for the first time today, you have talked to me about feeling mentally exhausted through this and not even wanting to talk about it. And I think that's really significant.
Yeah. I see so much wishful thinking and the people that talk on the TV and the president and the CDC. So for me personally, I just hit a real burnout point, and I didn't want to talk about it with anybody, because what I would have said 2 to 3 weeks ago would have been the same thing I'm saying now. But nobody would want to listen. Even my own family, I said, if we're going to get together on December 15th, everybody needs to do a rapid test. That didn't get very far, so I wore a mask and stayed away from everybody. But, it's not like it's not going to happen. I think this is going to hit all of us pretty hard. I know 5 people that are sick right now.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting. There is one way that an acquaintance, somebody that I don't know, but I heard about, ways that she's dealing with it. She's really mad. So when the city of, he was in San Diego, they sent out 2 test kits per kid. She has 3 kids. She's so mad about the whole thing. She gave her kids a baseball bat and told them to go out in the backyard and smash those test kits to pieces. That's because she's so angry and I see that. I get that. I get that you would be really mad because you feel completely out of control. Can your kids go to school or not? Are you going to have to go back to homeschooling the kids or, video schooling the kids?
We were talking about languishing in the spring, and now it feels like we've doubled down on the languishing through the winter. And I think that's something we need to talk about and discuss. How do we take care of ourselves through this?
Yeah, it's really important to turn off the news and just tell yourself, I'm going to do the best I can today. I'm not going to worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because if you start thinking too far ahead, then you just get freaked out. So the kids do need to be in school. People do need to be able to go to the hospital and have a procedure done that, like a bypass. They shouldn't have to wait to get a bypass. It's causing so much stress on so many people. But you see, the thing is, everybody says, oh, it's mild. Well, it might be mild if you're fully vaccinated, but you can see that the vaccines have helped, but they're not 100% the answer. And that's why we have to go back to the primitive methods of masking and distancing.
I know that I have taken some time to try to, take care of my head. Judith, what are you doing to try to take care of your head during this time? Because you can see a lot and it's a very heavy burden.
I got a circadian rhythm light.
You did?
Yes. That's for the seasonal affective disorder, because we had so much darkness and this was so hard on me. And those things work like a miracle. I'm not kidding. They really work. It lifts your mood. And then I think about what can I do today that will make me not be crazy. So I think we all have to just really, really practice some kind of self-awareness and self-help to keep ourselves from going completely nuts. It's going to get better. I mean, we're going to have another one, but on what I think about more and what I hope happens, and some of the people in the American Medical Association have written some really good articles about what we need to do now, because we're clearly at our capacity and this has overwhelmed everything. And it's been 2 years, and the years of magical thinking need to go away. And I think that's a big, big problem, is we have all these talking heads. But we need more hospital staff. We need more hospital beds. We need more staff on all levels. And we need to have the capacity to handle minor things so they don't become major, and to do it all safely.
Judith Malmgren, UW epidemiologist and president of HealthStat Consulting, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate talking to you, and really appreciate your candidness about how difficult this is right now for you.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now. Jason Pagano produced today's show. Matt Jorgensen does our theme music. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you tomorrow.
Hey, Seattle Now listeners, I'm Libby Dankman, and I'd like to invite you to check out a new local show from KUOW. It's called Soundside. Every week, we'll bring you stories and conversations about the Puget Sound region and the people who call it home. You can catch Soundside live on KUOW Monday through Thursday at noon, or in your podcast app. Just search for Soundside. Thanks, and talk soon.